Make blend modes your best friend. You cannot believe the creative powers that they open up in Photoshop. Now, if you don't know about blend modes, this is going to change your life. Okay, well, if not your life, at least your Photoshop life. And blend modes can open up endless capabilities. And once you understand how they work, you're going to undoubtedly increase your post-processing power and creativity. So how blend modes work? Basically, blend modes change how a layer is going to interact with the layer beneath it. It determines how those two layers blend together. And each mode is going to reveal something unique about their interactions. And there's no best blend mode, but instead each have different results. And some are better if you're trying to achieve a grunge effect with textures, and others are better if you're modifying colors, and others are still better for enhancing contrast. So they all do totally different things. And in this challenge, force yourself to play around with blend modes and start to understand the power that they have. Let's take a look at one creative way that I've used blend modes to embrace creativity in Photoshop. Blend modes are an incredibly powerful tool for getting creative in Photoshop. So what I recommend you do is you take two images and start to play with the blending mode so you can understand how the two work together. For example, over here on the right-hand side in my layers palette, on the bottom I have a beauty image, and on the top I have a photograph of roses. Now by default, the blend mode is set to normal. But what I want you to do is I want you to scroll through all of these different options, because what each one is going to do is it's going to change how the roses interact with the beauty image below. And this is exactly what blend modes do. It changes how two layers interact with one another. So for example, when I change the blend mode to darken, what it does is wherever that top layer, the roses, were darker than the layer below it, that's where they show up. You can see that in the lighter face here. Now conversely, if I do the same thing but change the blend mode to lighten, the roses are going to show up wherever the roses were lighter than the layer below it. In this case, the black background. But there's so much more than this. Watch when we play with multiply, how it intensifies the color, and it gives a very dramatic effect. Or perhaps when we play with contrast blend modes, like soft light, each one is going to do something different. So my best recommendation to you is take two layers, take multiple layers, and start playing with your blending modes. It's going to open your eyes to how this tool works and really start getting you thinking more creatively in Photoshop, and think even more about all of the different capabilities you have just with this one tool, blend modes. Okay, so I've decided that I like soft light, and I want to make a few more tweaks to this in order to make this image fit my personal project, Seeing Red. And Seeing Red is a personal project where I play with red in all of its forms. Red backgrounds, red makeup, red fabric, red dresses. And I really want to explore this color because it's a color of impact in my portfolio. So what I'm going to do is just make a few tweaks to this image in order for it to best fit my personal project. Then what I'm going to do is bring this back into Adobe Lightroom and sync it with Lightroom Mobile, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to display my personal project in Adobe Slate, which is an incredible way to share your images in an easy to set up and really visually beautiful format. So let's take a look at that, and really quick, I'm going to bring this back into Lightroom. Now we're back in Adobe Lightroom CC, and what I want to do is I want to create a collection that is going to sync with Adobe Lightroom Mobile. This is going to allow me to have access to my images both in Adobe Lightroom Mobile and then be able to access the images to use in Slate, so I can create a beautiful layout to share these images online. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new collection. I'm selected on this image that I just imported. I'm going to create a collection. I want to make sure that this is syncing with Lightroom Mobile, and I'm going to call this Seeing Red. Now what I'm going to do is I already have this personal project imported into Lightroom. So I'm going to select all of the photographs that I want to have in Slate, in this layout that I'm going to share with people. So I'm going through and selecting some of these images. And whichever ones that I want to sync online, all I need to do is drag and drop them into the Seeing Red collection. What it's going to do is it's automatically going to sync these with Lightroom Mobile. So not only can I add the image that I just worked on to this collection, but I can also now go ahead and add my entire Seeing Red portfolio. So let's go ahead and take a look at exactly what this looks like in Adobe Slate. Okay, let's pop over to my iPad, and I'm going to go to Adobe Lightroom Mobile, and you'll be able to see that all of the images that I put into the collection Seeing Red are now available there, including the one for this challenge. So let's actually go back, because what I really want to do is I want to work with Adobe Slate, and I'm going to create a beautiful visual story that's going to be easy to share online. And this is incredibly simple to do. I'm going to create new story, and I'm going to call it Seeing Red, and the subtitle will be Photos by Lindsay Adler. Okay, now it basically walks you through everything. Do you want a photo in the background? Sure. I'm gonna hit the plus, and it gives me different places that I can get these photos from. If they're actually on the iPad, I can take a photograph, I can access my Adobe Creative Cloud account, including the assets that are there, Lightroom and Dropbox. Well, I know that those images are now up on Lightroom because I synchronized that collection. So all of these images are available. So for this main image, let's select this photograph. Beautiful. And it gives you directions. Scroll to start writing. So now what I can do is I can add a photo, text, a link to my website, a grid of photos. I can also do a glide show. Let me show you what this looks like. First of all, let's try the photo grid. And what it's going to do is it's going to populate with any photographs that I click on into a grid. And when I hit done, those are now added to my layout. When this is finally published, somebody can click on those photos to view them larger, and I can also add captions. Next, I could add text, a little bit about myself, a link to my website, but let's really take a look at what a glide show is. I'm just going to add a few images to the glide show. For example, let's say these 2 images there. So now if I scroll back up, you see the main image, you see that grid, that gallery, and then this is how the glide show works. In each of these little boxes, you can add another photo, a link, or more text, perhaps a caption, or to talk about your creative team or when the image was created. So all of this, I'm just scrolling down with the touch of a finger. If I want to see an image larger, or to delete an image or delete the grid, I can also do that as well. In the upper right hand corner, there's a little button with the play symbol, so I can preview what I'm working with. And right now all I'm going to do is scroll. Click on this photo to view it larger, X out to go smaller. Here's that glide view. And at the end, made with Adobe Slate. When I'm all ready, when I'm happy with this, when I've added the links, the text, whatever I want to tell my visual story, I can then publish the story by hitting the button in the top right hand corner. I can make this public or private and also add credits. When I've published this story, I'm going to be provided a link. And this link I can then provide via email, on social media, and what it's going to do is people can view this on their iPad, on their iPhone. They can view it on their desktop. And it's going to be a beautiful visual story. So as you can see, now I'm in an internet browser, and I have that same functionality. At any point, I can add any information that I want. So this is just one more way that Adobe makes it easy for you to share your images visually, inexpensively, and quickly.